Hello, Kesley, Cruz, and Marissa. How are you? I'm so glad to be teaching you for the second term for sixth grade science. We're today in class, we're going to be talking a lot about the expectations I have while you're in class, um, and also learning to use Nearpod, which is a program I'm going to use in class, but you guys don't need to worry about those things. So you'll just have the shorter part of the science lesson. Normally it'll be a little bit longer than this, but today we're just going to focus on the science part for you, and then tomorrow will be a little bit longer lesson. Okay, so the first thing that I have is I want you guys to talk to each other about this theory that dinosaurs drank the same water that we drink today. How is that possible? Pause and talk to each other about how it's possible that they drank the same water that we're drinking today. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, I'm really interested in how you think that works, that it could be the same water. Do you think it's the same water? If it is, or if you think it is, how do you think that's possible? And then after you've discussed that, I want you to be thinking about it, and I sure wish you was in class so we could share your ideas with everyone, but at least you have each other to share with, so that's good. So now I want you to turn to your journal that I sent with you on page 2, and I want you each, don't do this together, but each write places that you find water. So on journal page 2, just on this side, I want you to write places that water is found. So just think of everywhere that water is found. And you can go ahead and hit pause while you think of that. Okay, now that you've made a list of places water is found, what patterns do you see? Do you notice anything about places water is found? What does that have in common? So go ahead and hit pause. And this one you can actually do together. Talk about what patterns you see and what you think. What do you notice about where water is found? So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now I want you to take the patterns that you observed and I want you to group together locations. So maybe you would put rivers and streams together in a category if you had those on your list, or lakes or ponds together. So go ahead and group them in locations and then see if you can even make those locations smaller. So you're going to make your put your patterns into groups. What do you notice? And then see if you can make less groups with that. And go ahead and write in your journal those two things. So your journal should look like this, and you should have filled out these two areas, and now you're working on these questions. So put them into groups and then see if you can make those groups less, smaller areas. So go ahead and hit pause and do that. Okay, so on page 3 of your science journal, um, it says to write. Well, before you do that, I just want you to think about what questions do you have about water. So go ahead and hit pause and talk to each other about the questions you have about water, and maybe write them down somewhere. Maybe if you have room on your journal page somewhere, or if you have a sticky you can put on your journal page. But I want you to have questions that you can refer to later about questions you have about water. Okay, hopefully you have some questions in mind of things you'll think about as we're learning about the water cycle. So now you're on your journal page 3, which is the top of this one right before episode 2. And it says, write a brief description of where water is found and how you classified these locations. So just in a paragraph form, just kind of write what you did on the page before. Like, you know, I've thought about the water from rivers and streams flow, whereas water in lakes and rivers seem to be sit into some type of pool, some type of location. How did you classify these locations, and how did you describe where water is found? Just write a little paragraph about that in your journal, and then I will go ahead. None of these have perfectly correct answers. So as long as you have ideas written in all of these questions for this first day, then you'll get your points for participating today, because I just want you to think about water, where it comes from, how we can group it, how some types of water are similar. And that's what I'm looking for this first lesson. That's episode 1. So I hope that made sense. I hope it makes sense to think about patterns of water and locations of water. I want you to think about where it comes from and kind of what it's doing while it's there. So once you finish this brief description, then you're done for today. So like I said, it's a really short little lesson, lots of talking with each other, a little bit of writing, and then tomorrow we'll do a little bit longer. Okay, good luck.